This is F. Paul Driscoll for Sightlines and Opera News, and I'm here with my friend Christian Van Horn as our guest for this episode. Hi, Christian.
Hey,
Welcome
Paul,
from
yeah.
Paris.
Checking in from Paris.
Tell me what you're doing in Paris.
A very last-minute jump in on a new production of Faust
As Mephistopheles, yes?
as Mephistopheles with the Paris Opera.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Have you sung anything major at the Paris Opera before?
Yeah, we were here a couple years ago for Les Troyens, and I
Uh-huh.
sang Narbal then in another new production.
But this is not obviously your first Mephistopheles.
No,
No?
I did one a couple years ago in Chicago was the last time I did it.
So tell me about,
Benjamin Bernheim, who's doing this one.
oh, good. Tell me about what that's like. If you got your preparation period the first time you do it for learning the score, learning the words, then learning the production, and then you come into a second production. What's the preparation like there? Obviously, this is a pandemic jump in, so there are special circumstances. But
Well, it's a jump in that it just started, so I'm not coming into something already in progress. They've only been working a couple of days by the time my quarantine was up, and so there was nothing there. As far as jumping into a new production, you have to sort of wipe what you know clean and begin again. I mean, you can bring your own things to the character, you can bring your own ideas, but you have a new director, new production team. There's a new vision there. You have to sort of at least try everything that they would like you to do.
how would you rate Mephistopheles in terms of difficulty, ranging him in with the other things that you sing?
Mephisto's challenges are not necessarily vocal. As far as in comparison to the other things that I do, it's not a killer by any sense. Certainly, there's a style to it, and you still have to be standing by the end of the night. But I think Mephisto's challenges come in the character. He has to be enjoying himself. He has to be very extremely confident, but he can't be a cartoon. The second you move into a cartoon character, I think you've done the show a disservice. And so there's a fine line there. You have to find it.
Is it fun to be evil?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, come on, it's way more fun. For a long time, as a bass, you stand behind the tenor, who's the love interest or the hero, or the baritone who's getting the girl, and you just sort of have to deal with that. And then when you get a little bit older, you get in your 30s, they start letting you be the bad guys, and then you realize that's the better stuff. That's the better role. It's way more fun to be evil. But I root for bad guys. When I watch movies, I tend to root for bad guys. There's something wrong there, I think.
No. Talk about the differences between the Gounod Faust, that devil, and the Boito that you did at the Met. What is it now? 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, last fall. So 2.5 years ago, we're moving into. I find the Gounod, he seems, from textual standpoint, I think Mephistopheles in Faust, in Gounod's Faust, is enjoying himself way more. I don't think that this has ramifications for him. I think he finds a new Faust every day, and he enjoys the game. It's a game. What do you want? You need money? You need power? Oh, you want to be young? Yes. Okay, you're the one who needs to be young. I'll give you that, and see where this game plays out. Up until the last minute, I don't think Mephistopheles in Gounod's Faust is doing anything but something he's done thousands of times for thousands of years. This is just today's version of it, and so I sort of approach it from that. And the Boito, I think there's more at stake. There's more danger in it for Mephistopheles in that one, in my opinion. And you sort of have to approach it from a textual standpoint. For the Gounod, he's just having a blast, and if the singer is showing that he's enjoying himself, I think you've accomplished what needs to be done there.
But for the Boito, when you did that, you did a long physical preparation, did you not, because of the costumes?
Yeah, I
Can
mean,
you
that
talk
Robert
about?
Carson production was so famous. You
Yeah,
know, we had all seen Sam looking amazing in that costume, and I knew I when they're going to take a picture like that, you better look right. And so I I took a long time preparing for that. Very specifically, I wanted that to be right. You know, and we hear about actors all the time in movies who will go to great lengths to either look like a superhero or will drop a lot of weight or will gain weight or whatever. And I wanted to approach it from that standpoint.
you did look amazing, having seen the
Oh,
show, and you have my compliments. However, um, how do you, you have a routine and a goal for a way to look physically.
yeah.
How do you put that next to what your routine has to be vocally? In other words, are there exercises or places of muscular development that you want to go easy on because it could compromise your singing, or no?
I think that's a total myth. I can't get involved in that. I think that being in good shape is good for any job somebody has. It has
Uh,
there yes, if you're lifting weights that you can't lift and you're grunting, if you're straining, if you're holding your breath, that's probably not healthy. But any sort of moderate weightlifting and dieting should not have too much effect on your voice. I didn't lose a ton of weight or anything. I just sort of
yeah.
shifted weight, if you know what I mean. And so um, I found that I had no repercussions vocally from the physical demands that I put on myself for that. And they were, I was committed to it. I wanted it, but I sang the whole way through. I didn't like stop doing my vocal work and then just worked out. I mean, I did everything congruently, and so I didn't find it a problem. In fact, the physical aspects of that show, there's a lot of ladder climbing, there's a lot of jumping to jump up on tables, jump off of tables. I found that a lot of the weight training helped all of those things immensely.
Mhm. It would, I would imagine it would help just general stamina for a singer anyway, would it not?
I can't imagine. It's a myth. It's a myth that singers can't lift weights and be in shape. I think it's silly,
Mhm.
personally.
Gotcha. You corrected me a couple of years ago when
What?
when I was trying to remember the first time I'd seen you sing. You corrected me and pointed out that I'd written a review of you at
The
Opera
first
Theater St.
time,
Louis.
the first time my name was ever in print in association to singing
Mhm.
was you in Opera Theater St. Louis, and I sang Angelotti in Tosca in English, and you said that you spotted gold, and I'll tell you, I'll
I
tell you right
did.
now, I'll tell you right now, that went a very long way with me, and I didn't let it go to my head, but I thought we're on the right path here. This is the right path. You said that I sang with genuine dramatic urgency, and I thought this is the best thing that could have happened, because 9 times out of 10 you're not going to mention Angelotti. And so if you did mention it, I knew it would be positive. You're not going to mention Angelotti and say he was terrible, probably not. But if he did get to mention it, was going to be good. But this was exceptionally good, and I've never forgot it. I used it as inspiration for a decade. I said, F. Paul said he spotted gold. You better prove him right.
Well, I mean, because after you had mentioned that, I went back to the notes that I took for that.
Is that you still
And
have?
well, yeah, I mean, only I can understand them. But what I remember about it is literally where I was sitting in relation to where your entrance was. And you made me believe when you came on that you were running.
Oh, that's great.
But that's, I mean, it's a small thing, but um, when I talk to younger singers about that aspect of their craft, especially in recital, but obviously in opera, um, you know, I'll say, where does your performance start? And
Mm,
they'll point to the first note that they sing.
yeah.
And it's like, no, 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 it's in the wings. You know, it starts there because you have to do all your preparation before I see you. I can't watch you get ready.
I couldn't even tell you the process through that. I knew that I was terrified, and I knew that I wanted to make an impact. I never thought somebody would ever let me sing Scarpia until I had dominated Angelotti. And so I don't remember, I couldn't even tell you the director's name, which I hate, but I couldn't tell you. And
Neil Peter Champolis.
there it is, Neil. And I do remember that he, to a certain extent, said, hey, you're out of breath. You're getting here at the end of your run. So you need to come in exhausted, as if you're, thank God, I've made it, you know. Finalmente, you know, like I made it. Oh my God. And I guess we didn't say finalmente, we're singing in English there, but it was just, I think he made it clear to me that you're so relieved, but it needs to be obvious that you are exhausted from because you look terrible, you're bleeding, your clothes are tattered, you're sweating. That needs to show up in your breath, that needs to show up in the physicality of it.
And also he's the first character that really has, that's on stage that has anything at stake.
Without Angelotti, you have no show.
I've seen so many Toscas ruined by a bad Angelotti. thrown it right out into the street.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I did it, and I pray to God I'd never see it again.
So looking at where you were at that point in your career, what were the roles you were dreaming of? I mean, are you gradually checking them off season by season with the Devils and the other things that you've got going on?
But even then, those things sounded like a dream to me. I had dream roles, but they seemed like dreams. And I had sort of come to this idea that if I could just stand near the best, that was going to be enough for me. And then at some point it kind of turned, and I realized that I was getting more things, more responsibility. If I sang 10 lines this show, they gave me 20 lines the next show, they gave me 40 lines the next show. And so I sort of moved my goalposts, as it was. And then I started to think about things like the Four Villains and Hoffman, or Philip, or, just moving into Verdi things, maybe even Wagner down the road. My goalposts changed, but at that point, I couldn't see much past standard low bass stuff. I couldn't really, at that point, you don't even know where your voice is lending. And as a decade went by, my top got much more interesting than my bottom. And so it was easy to start to consider higher things, louder things, bigger things.
Do basses take a longer time than other voice types to settle in?
Of course.
Or is it another myth?
I mean, no. Nobody took me serious until I was 30. And nobody really paid me until I was 40. Like you got to wait. You really have to wait on this. I was lucky, and I sang Figaro's. I did sing Mephistopheles. I started to move into those things in my mid and late 30s. It felt like the right thing, and it happened at the right time. But yeah, you have to wait a long time on a bass voice. You're 22 years old and you're singing old man roles, but you're not an old man, and so you're sort of artificially darkening your voice. It's kind of a funny time. If a bass comes to me, and they often do, and want to know anything, I say, just be patient, hang on, sing the tiny roles, but sing them like it's the end of your life. If you sing Angelotti with genuine dramatic urgency, maybe F. Paul will call you gold. And so that's what I say to anybody who comes to me these days, and they do a lot. I feel very lucky that people trust my opinion on some things, and I definitely encourage patience. If you really want this, you're going to wait for it, because you don't deserve it at 25, and you're not ready for it at 25.
Can you talk a little bit about the podcast that you started, and how did you get that idea, and how has it come together? And congratulations on the success.
Thank you. The CVH podcast came to me in a dream. I needed to use my voice. I needed to talk about what I was going through. We were 10 months out of work. When I started it, I was 8 months out of work due to COVID. Like everybody else, I wasn't, I'm not special. We were all out of work. But I felt disconnected. I needed to get it out. I needed to let other people know that it's okay to be really angry by this and upset, and going through the depression of it, or going through the anger of it, or all we know is this road life. We have we have thrown in everything we have into this business, everything. We've sacrificed as many things as you can sacrifice in normal life to have this career, and then it disappeared in 5 seconds. And I needed an outlet. It's been so therapeutic for me. It's better than any therapist I've ever had, and I've had plenty. The ability to talk, and I approach it like I'm just speaking to my friends. I say what I feel. There's no bullshit involved. I try to just be very, very real. And it's not necessarily for kids, you know, it's not, I don't necessarily want my mother to listen to it, but I just try to be real, and it has been tremendously therapeutic. And I have been shocked, truly shocked by the response to it, and how many people are appreciating somebody who is a full-time working singer venting their frustrations here, you know, because this is not easy. I'm just now, today was my very first day of work in 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who's been working 10 months a year for 15 years, that was very jarring. And we complain all the time. Singers complain all the time. Oh, I'm too busy. I never go home. I never go home. I never go home. So we all went home. And then after 3 months of vacation, you go, I've lost my identity. I identify as a singer. This is what I do. I have to do it. I meant to do it. Shame on me if I don't do it. And you couldn't. And so I needed a little outlet. The CBH podcast is great. I'm going to keep it going. I've got all my equipment right here. I mean, it's every Monday and Thursday there's a new episode.
And how did you get the what do I want to say, the wherewithal or to put it together to get it on the air? How did that start? Did you have someone help you, or you figured it all out yourself?
I mean, you know, the internet is a fantastic source. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do. I decided that if I was going to do it, I was going to commit to 100 episodes. I said, if you're going to do this, you do 100 half-hour episodes before you quit. And it was the same thing with a lot of things that I've taken up as hobbies. I have committed to a number and said, you don't stop until you're here. Otherwise, you shouldn't do it. And so I spared no expense. I got the right microphone. I got the right board. I studied podcasts that I liked, things that I didn't like, what I wanted it to be. I never wanted it to sound anything but completely authentic and real. I'm not interested in putting on a show. It's not a show. It's just a little dose of reality. And I have to tell you, the response has been phenomenal. I'm floored by it. I think we've gone past 3,000 individual downloads in not even 2.5 months of work. And you know, the episodes are about a half hour long, and most people are listening to over 80% of it. And so I have people's attention way longer than you normally do on the internet. You know, people will, if you're on social media, you might have somebody's attention for 2 seconds, but this has garnered true consumption. And I suddenly felt the responsibility. I said, okay, people are listening to everything you're saying. It's not a passing thing. And so that started to make me concerned. And I said, no, you started authentic. Don't continue to just do what you're doing. And listenership has grown and grown. It's really been something. I'm surprised by it.
And so how do you get feedback from the people that listen?
I get messages all kinds of way: Instagram, Facebook, email. I have a email address that I've set up just for that. There's a playlist involved with my intro and outro music, and I've had a ton of instant messages through Instagram, mostly of people continuing the conversation, wanting to tell me how they relate to it, or thanking me. It's really it's been so helpful. It has felt like a community of people trying to survive this very uncertain time.
This is an impossible question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'll do my best.
What do you think is going to be the biggest lesson that we all have coming out of this?
How very fragile all of this is.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do we know? I am not You know, we did a streaming event in Chicago at the Lyric Opera of Chicago, and we sang some Attila highlights. And I got to the production of it, and it looked like a movie studio. There were these tremendous high definition cameras and professional lighting, and it looked like a real movie production. And I felt ill prepared for that. I felt like a fish out of water in that scenario. I didn't train to be a movie star. If you want to film a live production, do it all day. That makes no difference to me. That we can do. But to have that intimate camera up close, I felt very uncomfortable, ill prepared. Maybe I pulled it off. I hope I did, but we're meant for audiences. We're meant for grand opera, big opera houses. I think what I do is great for the big room. I'm not so sure that I'm meant to be up like this. And so I think the biggest lesson for me, for everybody, is how lucky we are to be able to enjoy that audience.
Mm-hmm.
The 3,000 or 2,000 or 500 people or whatever you have, it's a privilege to get to perform for a living, and that's never been lost on me. But it became even more clear when it was taken away.
Yeah.
And the lesson will be going forward. From my perspective, sing everything like it's your last one, because you really don't know. We got to our final dress rehearsal of La Cenerentola at the Met, and then we waited 4 days, and we got to opening night, and that's when we were shut down. I had no idea that my last performance before an audience was going to be a dress rehearsal for 1,000 kids at the Met. I had no idea. And it wasn't that I didn't give a full performance. I didn't have that awareness that maybe this was the last time. And I think that every time that I'm lucky enough, and I hope that I'm lucky enough to sing for people again, that when we get there, that I never take that for granted, that every show will be the last show. That's going to be my approach. I think that has to improve everybody's performance if that's what we do, because when you have 50 or 60 performances a year, you pace, you take it easy. Okay, it's Thursday night, it's a matinee, the crowd is a little dull, and you sort of back up a little bit. You're not quite feeling like yourself or something. There's always a reason to not be, just all the way. And I can't imagine not being all the way going forward.
What about the industry as opposed to the individuals in the industry? I mean, do you think the industry is going to look very different in the way it presents and programs opera?
I think it has to, right? I mean, everybody says when we get back to normal, but normal will be a new thing.
Yeah.
I don't, even when we're allowed to have audiences back, are they going to come flooding back? I have no idea. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that they're going to be so starved for it that they're going to just go right back out. But at the same time, everybody's gotten used to things delivered right to the door. I don't know. I really don't know. It's going to look different. It's going to have to look different. But the thing over and over again that has put people in the seats is the human voice.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately what it comes down to. We can shave costs. There are 1 million productions in 1 million warehouses just sitting around. If I had the magic wand, I would say, forget new productions for 5 years. Go dig up all the old ones and put the absolute best voices back out there. There's no reason we can't trim our expenses, because we're going to have to. We're just going to have to. I have hope for the industry, but it's only going to come from the people that accept that it's not going to be the way it was.
Right. It has. I mean, it has to change.
Has to.
But you can. I think if you're really smart about it, or if manager or intendant is really smart about it, you can take the differences and turn it to an advantage. I think. I
don't like the streaming stuff. I don't like online performances. I think my friends don't sound very good through my computer speakers. But when I hear them live and the hair sticks up on the back of my neck,
yeah.
I know that I'm in the right place. And I think that when we present that again, the human voice back in those spaces with that orchestra, we have a chance. We have a chance.
I mean, I know it's an incorrect way of looking at things, but my instinct and prejudice is to think of things that I see on a screen, whether it's a computer or a television or a movie screen, as things that have already happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if I'm in the theater, it's happening right in front of me. So in other words, I'm a part of that performance in a way
That magic between the proscenium and the first row is palpable. Before that curtain goes up, and this is from my standpoint, because I love to go to the show. The anticipation, the anxiousness that I feel in that moment from lights down, curtain up, it's the best part for me. You could be witnessing a historic night. You could witness a historic failure. You could witness the best show you've ever seen or the worst show you've ever seen. And in that sort of anticipation, that live performance for me is the whole thing. That if I'm looking on something on a computer, like you said, I go, well, they edited that or they cut it up or it happened last week or, you know, whatever the reasons are. Somebody had a microphone on, all of those things. But
even at that, even moving that part of it aside, it's the idea that if you're in a theater, you're not going to get up in the middle of someone's aria and go to the bathroom and get a glass of water or something, which you can, even if it's a live stream. You know, there's nothing gluing me to the performance if I'm watching it on a screen.
Right, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I get very frustrated, and I watch because I want to support my friends and colleagues, and I want to see what's going on, and I want to see the things that people have come up with to present or to follow their mission statement, you know, to create. I know there's a lot of push online that people need to create. You need to think outside the box right now and create content, and I don't love it. I don't love a lot of the forced online stuff. I understand why people have to do it, but if we don't get back in the theaters, I don't think we have a real shot.
Mm-hmm. When you were starting out, or maybe even now, was there any singer that you particularly admired? Any person in your voice type or outside of your voice type? Anyone that you look to as a role model?
I devoured recordings. I was obsessed with the guys who went before me. I was obsessed with the lineage. Who led to what? Who led to what? To the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy. And I had a hard time with the old recordings. I really didn't get very interested until the early 60s, mid 60s, when the recording quality jumped a level. Things before that, when the quality wasn't great, I struggled with. But I started with Siepi, and I moved into Giorov, and I moved into Sam Raimi, and I devoured everything that they did. I was obsessive about hearing all of it. And then somebody introduced me to Norman Traeger, and I thought, that's my voice. That's how I sing. He had, there was a darkness and an edge to his voice, and he sang like it was the last day of his life. I never heard of most of the live recordings. It sounds like he was just on the edge of it all collapsing. And I got such a charge. It wasn't a perfect instrument like Sam Raimi. It wasn't a perfect tone like Nikolai Giorov, but it was so exciting. I wanted to, that's who I listened to the most and wanted to be a part of. As far as singers to look up to, the guys I love were the technicians. A guy like Matthew Polenzani, somebody who is just, every time he opens his mouth, it's a master class in technique. Those are the kind of people that I like to be around, guys that are just rock solid, unshakable performers. It's the kind of performer and frankly, man, that I would like to be.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. That's all we've got time for.
My pleasure, my friend.
And you look pretty rock solid right there in your Paris apartment. I hope everything goes well for the rehearsals and performances, and I wish you all success as always.
Paul, it's great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you. Keep the gold shining.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, bye-bye.